Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07 here on this 19th day of June. A good Juneteenth to all who have the day off. We're here with you. Coming up in 30 minutes, KT McFarland. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Amen.
Many, rightly so, believe the media in this country is culpable in covering up the obvious decline of the 46th president of the United States. The scrutiny that was baselessly directed at President Trump during his first term was wholly absent from the media coverage of the Biden White House. The media lacked any sense of curiosity that would naturally stem from what the public could see with their own eyes.
That, of course, is Sean Spicer, host of The Sean Spicer Show and former White House press secretary, testifying yesterday before a Senate Judiciary Committee called Unfit to Serve, how the Biden cover-up endangered America and undermined the Constitution. And I'm so glad, Sean, first of all, and grateful that you're joining us this morning. And I'm so glad you kept the media in your sights as well, as they are incredibly culpable for part of this cover-up. Thank you for joining us. What were you shocked that the Democrats didn't even show for this thing?
I'm so glad you led with this, Larry. I literally, because of just my background, sort of my experiences, I war gamed this out. My team and I sat down and we were like, okay, if Durbin comes at us, and I have a young woman on my staff that is just phenomenal. She went through every single person and was like, okay, based on the last few witnesses that they've gone through, this is their normal line of attack.
So you did the murder boards. You planned it all out.
Yeah. I was ready. I was like full spider monkey prepared. I was like, all right, here we go. And then they walk in and they go, so first I get the word, there's no minority witnesses. They're not calling. I said, okay, all right, I get that. But then they sort of start coming at, then Durbin walks in and Peter Welch from Vermont. Durbin, they say, staff says, Senator Durbin's going to give an opening statement, show a video, and leave. And I'm like, okay, and then what? And they're like, Senator Welch is probably going to stay. I'm like, okay, and then they were like, but he probably is going to leave. And I'm like, and literally, no, you have to look at the video. Now, I've been committee staff. I served on the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. I was the Budget Committee spokesman, the House Government Reform and Oversight spokesman. So I have a lot of committee experience. It wasn't just the Dem members that got up and left or didn't show. Their staff walked out too.
Wow.
So, let's say something happened. They weren't even there. But here's the bigger point on all this. I can't help myself sometimes. If somebody, I literally am the epitome of mansplaining. I do it to other men. If you call me and say, Sean, I'm hungry, I'm like, Larry, I got 18 places you go for lunch. Here's where I would go. Now, the upside of going here is that you're going to, right?
I can independently verify this about his personality. Right. You rarely get a short answer from Sean Spice.
Right, but you also don't even need to have a real problem. I'll create one for you and give you the solution.
Sean,
after the hearing. Just 1 second, Patrice. I'm sorry, but I literally, after the hearing, I walked up to the staff, to the majority staff, and I was like, guys, they should have done the following. They could have come at me. This was all about decision making. If I were them, I would have been like, okay, you think decision making is so important. You're proud of how President Trump handled. Well, here's 10 decisions. Do you agree with them? Do you explain the process here? They literally were derelict in their duty. If you are a Democrat right now today, you understand that they are waving the white flag. The DNC is in turmoil. They can't staff a committee hearing. At some point, this is sixth grade. They're going to call me, can you send 2 players over?
So, Sean, I watched some of the hearing.
Bobby, can we get Bobby back? Tulsi, come on, give us Tulsi. Give us somebody. This isn't fair anymore.
All right,
Sorry,
Sean. Well,
It's
okay. I watched this. I watched the hearing though yesterday, and I watched your performance. Obviously you were spectacular, but you got all easy questions, right? And you called out the media. My question was the point of the hearing to just be reflective, to look back on how the Biden administration, the use of the auto pen, the fact that President Biden was like MIA mentally, and who was running the show. But what's the forward forward-looking piece of this. Are there guardrails that Congress could enact to make sure that this doesn't happen again? I mean, I've been asked that question, and I think it's a good question to ask. Otherwise, people will say, "Oh, it's just Republicans' political theater," which I know it wasn't political theater. There is something that can be done. I don't know if you have any ideas, though.
Well, first of all, it's a great question. And to the beginning part of your statement, I finally know what it's like to be a Democratic spokesman. Like, I felt like, oh, my God, this is what Jen Psaki went through. You sit around and get questions you can just answer, and no one's attacking you. This is literally what Jen Psaki went through. Wow. How cool is that? So I mean, I was like, is Cornyn going to come after me? What about this Ted Cruz guy? Is he going all Tucker Carlson? Like, I was like, someone's got to come after me. This isn't normal. Let's go, Josh Hawley. Bring it. I so desperately just wanted to, at some point during the entire hearing, I just wanted to go, no, you don't sit down, Senator. But I couldn't do it.
Not even Jim Acosta.
Anyway, I know. I was like, so anyway, but here's to Patrice's question. I think it's a really important one. There's two things. One of the things that came out of yesterday's hearing that, of course, the media didn't want to hear or will act on is the fact that the gentleman sitting to my right, who's at Heritage Foundation now, he was in the Domestic Policy Council working with Stephen Miller in the first term, noted is that, like, and this is so true, I just, because of my purview, that wasn't what I was asked to share. Mm-hmm. But he brought up the fact that, like, every decision is called the decision memo that gets staffed in the White House. So if the president's making a decision, it gets staffed. It says, here are the 10 people that were part of this decision. This is what they recommend. And then usually the memo goes to the president, says concur with comments, decline with comments. So, like, there's a record. And he was like, for all of these things, the first and foremost thing is we should know whether or not, like, there should be paperwork to back up every decision. That's number one. Number two, and that's sort of the rear view mirror, right? But then going forward, number one, I suggested, look, Dr. O'Connor, President Biden's doctor, it's one thing to have HIPAA stuff. So it's like, here's, he doesn't necessarily have to do so. But when he writes in the affirmative on a piece of paper, President Biden is fit to serve and is in great character, whatever, that's his opinion. And he should be held accountable to sort of answer for this. And so to answer your question, I think one of the points that I made to the committee was that, they were talking about the 25th Amendment and the cabinet, and they're all appointed. But at the end of the day, the doctor is usually a military doctor. And in the case of Dr. O'Connor, he had been retired. But the bottom line is there could be some way in which the doctor of the physician of the president of the United States has to affirm in some way every year that the president is fit for office. And then the doctor can be held accountable. I think there were some other suggestions. Some of them deserve discussion. But here's my point. The cabinet is appointed by the president. It's a very high bar to say, it's like you see it every day with Larry. But are you going to go to Bill Hess or anybody in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Center and say Larry's got a problem? Probably not, because you guys are so. Part of this
gratuitous attack on me there. I don't know if you noticed. It was really unnecessary.
No, that's just I know. I have to be honest with the audience. It's just something that I
they appreciate it too.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question, there are things that can be done going forward. But the thing that was also interesting that came out of the hearing is that if you look at the pattern of presidents in the past, FDR, Kennedy even, like, of health issues and matters being covered up, it's literally like a Democratic thing. Like, this is what they do. It's actually, there were a lot of things that came out of this. So I think the biggest answer is, and number two is, I would just say this, like, it's on us. We all saw it. And the point that I made in response to, I think, Senator Katie Britt of Alabama yesterday was part of this, and part of what the White House, again, the media, the role that we all play, you guys, Larry with his other show, you at the Independent Women's Forum, like, we all have a voice now in a way that we didn't 5-10 years ago because of these platforms that are available to us. And part of the point that I made to Senator Britt was she was asking about accountability. Is I said, do you think back, the White House stripped 440 independent journalists of their White House hard pass. Part of that was so that they could limit accountability and access of people who would ask tough questions. And yet no one at the time, the White House Correspondents Association, which apparently just sleeps in the blanket of democracy and the First Amendment every night, didn't say a word, a peep. So the point is that when we see these things happen, instead of just allowing them, and I know that, I and others sort of, and a lot of the independent journalists banged pots and pans when they did this. But I think the point is that Congress should have gotten out there and said, wait a second, what's happening? You guys are for all these people who care about journalism and the First Amendment, no one said a word. And the reason, as I noted, is because they didn't want the accountability.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right.
And that's, so there are
That's
things,
right.
there are
They
things
were.
we can
That's
do.
why they didn't show up yesterday too, because they were part of it. Sean, we got to leave it there. Quickly though, super quickly. Did any of the Republican senators pull you aside afterwards and try to recruit you to run against Mark Warner? Because that's the only thing that occurred to me. You were so statesmanlike. You were you could.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You look great too.
Thank you. Well, it's a lot of makeup. No, I honestly, I will never ever say never because that's a dumb thing to do. But I can't ever envision a scenario in which it's not part of a prison sentence that I would run for office.
All right, that's fair. Well, listen, don't rule that out either. Actually.
Right. That's why I say I don't rule anything out. I may not run, but it may be part of the prison sentence. But I can't. Right. As much as I would love to enjoy it, I can't imagine putting myself and my family through that.
Always good. Well, think of the people. The people of Virginia need you. Thank you for joining us. We got to leave it there.
Thanks, Sean.
Good job yesterday. Well done.
You bet, guys. Have a great one. Take care. Happy Juneteenth, guys.
Let's get straight to